As I sit here with my iPhone, I can tell you confidently that if you thought for even a split second that you did not get slowed down every time you updated your iPhone, you, sir, are retarded. Okay, so glasses or no glasses? Just a little tip, my vision's trash. So we should do glasses because I'm reading, which I'm illiterate anyway, so we're gonna just basically stutter through this, okay? First things first, Apple's been slowing down iPhones. No surprise there for me. I always told my dad, don't update your iPhone because as you update it, they slow it down so that you have to buy new ones. It's kind of like a pretty good marketing scheme if you really think about it. And it was like a well-known secret, I should say, because most people suspected it. It was blatantly obvious if you ever updated your iPhone, and literally the next 5 minutes after you update it, the phone sucks and is slower and is stuttering and can't even do simple functions that it did before. It was always very obvious to me. And I think there's actually probably more to this drama than what we see, because let me tell you, Apple did not admit to this. They were caught red-handed slowing down iPhones after a man named, what's his name? John Poole tested over 100,000 iPhones, benchmarked them, got all the specs from them, and realized that there's a correlation between older phones and slower processors. But with an iPhone 6, for example, he realized that a brand new iPhone 6 is much faster than one that's just 6 months out. He realized that the benchmarks clearly showed that on average with 100,000 phones. And without fail, by the way, the only thing that changed this was if you replace the battery, then it would regain its speed, its initial earlier speed. But it was not known. No one actually came out and officially made a public statement that Apple was slowing down phones. Apple never came out and admitted to this until they were caught red-handed. And this is where I have the problem. So after they were caught, and there was a huge Reddit post that actually benchmarked all these phones and showed the evidence to Apple slowing down phones based on older batteries, they responded. And I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, it's on the screen, but it essentially said that they were trying to deliver the best experience for customers, which includes overall performance. Lithium-ion batteries become less capable, and they start supplying weak currents in cold conditions, or when they have a low battery charge, or as they age. And this can basically unexpectedly shut down the phone. The processors, if they drew too much current, it would shut them down, which I've had happen to my old phones before. And so what they did is, instead of allowing the phones to randomly shut down at certain times, when the batteries were compromised, whether it was cold or an older battery or not sufficiently charged, you know what they did? They throttled your phone all the time and trashed you. So essentially, your phone became a worthless hauling pile of shit all the time instead of just randomly shutting down every once in a while. Well, that's good to know. Thanks, Apple. And then they basically admitted to all the phones they did it to and how they just pushed it to the iPhone 7 with iOS 11.2. So thanks, because I just updated that, because now I'm developing apps, as you see on my little Mac up there. And so that's a shame. Long story short, their reputation has been ruined. It's been trash. It's been bombed into the ground. And I'm going to tell you how they're responding to this. So after not admitting to it initially, my father always says this, the cover-up's worse than the crime. The fact that they didn't admit to it, they never even made any kind of public statement on slowing down older iPhones, forcing people to then upgrade sooner than they might have because their iPhones were not performing at the functionality that they remembered their brand new iPhone performing at. It's a great psychological trick. I mean, it really is, if you really get into it, and how people are willing to spend $900 because their phones are just not performing. I've done it before. I've upgraded my phone almost every single year, and I wouldn't be doing that if my phone actually continued to perform in the manner that it was meant to perform at when it was originally designed. So, here's a response. We know that some of you feel Apple has let you down. We apologize. Guess the first step is apology. But then they offered an even better deal here. So, Apple says that in its letter that batteries are now considered consumable components, which is so different than what they said 10 years ago. I'm going to quote from 10 years ago when the iPhone first came out. Let's find it. Hello. Apple said the iPhone users would never need to replace their batteries. That's what they said when they first introduced the iPhone. And that was something they obviously stuck with, because when I went into the Apple store to try to replace my iPhone, it would have cost me almost $100 to replace it. So Now they're falling back on their sword. They're calling the batteries in iPhones consumable components, and they're offering anyone with an iPhone 6 or later a battery replacement for only $29 starting in late January through December of 2018. A discount of $50 from the usual replacement cost. Apple is also promising to add features to iOS that provide more information about the battery health in early 2018 so that users are aware of when their batteries are no longer capable of supporting maximum phone performance. This is a huge attitude change in Apple's standpoint. They've always been a secretive company, which I've never necessarily liked. I get their architecture's closed, they hold everything close to their chest, but when it comes to consumers and sharing information with us about the products we have already purchased, you should be as crystal clear as humanly possible, especially because this makes them look terrible. This only reflects on Apple. The fact that they didn't initially come clean with this, the fact that there was no mention of this anywhere at all until 100,000 iPhones were benchmarked and tested and showed significant performance problems. What the fuck, Apple? Are you kidding me? What a giant failure. Are you trying to pull a wool over your eyes of your customers? I get Apple's like for the simplistic person, right? Like I even have a Mac up there and it's so easy to use. My grandmother could roll through that, that operating system on their computers, but also on iPhones because it's so basic. But just because it's basic and just because you're targeting a basic user base doesn't mean that you're not going to have techies like John Dill or whatever his name is, who literally just debunked everything you stand for. Oh my gosh, Apple, get your shit together. Anyway, that's my rant for today. If you guys want to stick around for some more videos, stick around. I'm enjoying this a lot. I'm going to be doing a video every single day. It's every day, bro.